Last season was an incredible success, 7-6 with the gauntlet that they had. And I think we could even say if they don't have the schedule they had a year ago, we're
Mhm.
probably talking more than 7 wins. How do they top it? Like, who are the key returners that can make this even an even better season this year?
Well, I think you start with your big tackle Holland Pierce. He's somebody again who developed a big guy from the Trenton area. Was kind of out of shape when he first showed up, and now he might be a potential draft pick. Getting him back and a bunch of the individuals on the offensive line is big for the program because that's one of the biggest things we've struggled with since we've gotten into the Big Ten. They had a pretty darn good showing last year, and Kyle Monungai, the one of the leading rushers in the Big Ten, who put the team on his back again against Miami, like I predicted he would, and in several other games. Just an absolute beast of a determined, persistent, resilient runner who gets stronger as the game goes on. That's somebody who had really high stock at the end of last year, could have cashed it in and decided to go pro last year. But, again, stuck to what he, came here to do. He was the younger, not younger in reality, but like the little guy compared to Jalen Berger coming out of high school, but he's turned out to be,
Yes.
and that's the Rutgers way. I mean, he came and developed. He's coming back. You got Sam Brown behind him, who flashed a heck of a lot the year before, but then had a foot injury. He's the
Mhm.
backup, like the 1B running back.
Yeah.
And then you have you got Ethan Kaliakmanis not coming back, but a guy with Big Ten experience who's coming in. The defensive side of the ball, Robert Longerbeam. I thought honestly, I understand Melton went pro. Melton was our best punt blocker, which Rutgers is obviously known for, so that hurts. But I think Longerbeam was the best corner on the team last year. He's coming back.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really think when you look at raw coverage and sometimes with corners, you love the interceptions, obviously. You love the passes defended. You love the big hits. But sometimes if a corner is not being called at all, he might be blanking in his guy,
Yep.
and the guy's not getting anything thrown his way. And Longer Beam, a lot of times when there was trouble downfield, Longer Beam wasn't involved because his guy was covered. I thought he was the best corner on the team last year. He's
Mhm.
coming back. Shaquan Loyal, a safety who's been starting for a while, single-handedly pretty much won the Temple game for us 2 years ago on a pick six. He's coming back, solidifies that back end. You obviously have Lewis. You have, I think, the defensive line. They kind of had a year that I don't think they were completely satisfied with last year. They were solid, but the numbers weren't there in terms of pressure, sacks. I think those guys have a chip on their shoulder. They're coming back to play. And when you look at the linebacking core, and Rutgers has an interesting defense these days, with these like kind of slash safety linebackers and kind of end linebackers, and they kind of vary it up. And you got guys like Torrey coming back, Tyreen Powell coming off some injuries, but before he went down last year, very talented sideline to sideline player, can go after the ball, just sheer athleticism, very gifted young man. You have Moses Walker, who was a highly touted recruit, another person they beat out Penn State for coming out of Brooklyn.
Mhm.
And he hasn't even seen the field really yet. He had some injuries, and he's coming in as like tier, the backup, maybe off the bench type guy, or maybe starting to work his way into a lot more playing time as a younger guy. So you have a lot. What I talked about with that pipeline, you have guys coming back because had they left right when their stock was its highest, now you lost that base that
Mhm.
you had developed, and now the guys have to step up maybe earlier than you'd like. But now, since the vast majority of contributors last year stayed, you
Yeah.
now have the guys not only who were already at the front of the pipeline, but were already there. Now they're here for a second year with even more maturity, more experience,
Yep.
tasted winning a little bit, plus the guys who are almost in a pinch could be the starters are now kind of working in gradually. You got a strong and a deeper team.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's amazing as I look at the depth chart that Phil Steele put out. Aside from Kaliak Manis and Kenny Fletcher at tight end, every presumed starter, is either a junior or a senior.
Yes.
And that, like, And that's true on both offense and defense. Special teams is different. Punter
Of
is a
course.
freshman. Jai Patel at kicker is a
Mhm.
sophomore. But like when you have a senior laden team like this, and I think the other thing that's interesting, there are guys that I expected you to say that you didn't, which I think just goes to show there's a lot of return, like Flip Dixon, Christian
Yes.
Christian Dremel. Um, like I still, you were talking about the throws that Wimsatt missed a year ago. Dremel had a touchdown against Ohio State. If that
Yes.
ball is thrown, I mean, he beat a really good corner because Ohio State has really good corners right now.
Yes.
Um, might have been Igbinosin, I forget which one, but
Mhm.
toasted him on the
Mhm.
outside. And I mean, he's a good receiver. So you guys have a lot of talent coming back.
Yeah, and you
Um,
talk about Dremel and you talk about Flip Dix. I mean, those are big names that are known around the Big Ten, and I didn't even say them because I'm delving deep into it. That shows how deep. I mean, the whole team's basically coming back.